everybody. So an old friend of mine reached out to me and was like, I've always felt really drawn to like numerology and astrology and dream stuff and all that stuff, but I'm a Christian, and so I felt like I couldn't really look into it. And I know you used to be a Christian, so like, are you still a Christian? And if so, like, how does this all go together for you? And I really liked that question. I was really excited to answer that question because same, like like astrology was kind of on my radar, and numerology, and just that more like mystic mindset, I think is just, part of who I am. Maybe not an essential part of Christianity, but in the way that it is taught, it's a little bit fear-based. It's a little bit like you should be scared to look into other things. You should be scared of where you look. You should definitely keep your blinders on and stuff so that you don't get misled. And I think potentially a better approach is that you learn discernment and you learn what the truth feels like in your body, and you have faith that as you explore these other mentalities and perspectives and religions and ways of thinking and everything, that the truth does rise to the top. And you cannot really, in my opinion, like you can't even get understanding without exploration, and without asking questions and without diving into things. And we are certainly urged in the Bible, right, to get understanding. So if you're not a Christian, don't worry about it all. This message is still going to have a lot of interesting points for you. If you are a Christian or used to be a Christian or like whatever the case, hopefully this will be interesting and enlightening and all that fun stuff. But okay, so let's assume for a moment, let's propose that there is a God, that there is a vast, mystical, omniscient creator, right? I may speak a little bit more on Christianity because this is what I was brought up in, and like that's what I know a lot about, but I do have a lot, I kind of highlight of all the other religions, and I'm going to show you how it ties together, and I'm going to show you how it ties together with science. I'm going to tell you why it all matters, at least from my current theory and perspective. But let's say you got a God, you got a creator, okay? In the Bible, it says that God spoke the world and the universe and us into being. So speaking is sound. Sound is energy. And therefore all things are energy. Your body, everything tangible around you is all energy. The grass, the trees, the rocks, everything is energy. And science backs this up too, by the way. So if you have an atom, then and I'm like not super sciencey, so bear with me, but I'm trying to learn. So you have like the nucleus, which is really tiny, and you have the electrons and whatever, and it's all really tiny. 99.99999% of the atom is just space, but it's not empty space. It is just filled with energy. So like my hand right here, though solid as it may seem, is mostly energy. So that's what I kind of mean when I say, I was thinking about it one day, and I was like, it's like the truth, it's like you can feel it, like it just has a different feeling. And then I remembered the kind of cliche saying about it has the ring of truth to it. Ringing is vibration, it's an energy. So it's like this thing that we've always known, but we never knew that we knew. It's like it really does, the truth has a certain energy. Every feeling has a certain energy. Your thoughts have a certain energy. So take that as you will, but I think that is an interesting and helpful thing to know and understand. But so I told you that I grew up Christian, and I still do identify as a Christian, but I just think that definitely like the fear kind of went away from me. I was in a unique situation where everything that I like kind of knew or believed or whatever just crumbled. It was like slate wiped clean kind of thing. It was just like I'm not attached to any of these beliefs anymore, and I just started to be more open-minded as I battled my fears about just kind of everything in life, and tried to teach myself how not to be afraid. I was like, well, I'm not going to be afraid to learn or to try on other perspectives. And I am going to believe that truth rises to the top. And that I will know that when I feel that, and like, I trust in me to find a way, or to find the answers or whatever. So I just started to venture off and to learn different things. And what I've come to is a book. It's called The Tao of Physics. So the premise of the book is it's going to show you the way that quantum physics and Eastern mysticism actually tie together and are saying a lot of the same things. And it's phenomenal. But that kind of, it taught me things about like Hinduism and Buddhism and all this stuff. Like I was already kind of getting it in my world. It was coming in, like my Pinterest would show me quotes and stuff that were just, Buddha teachings and things like that. And I was like, this is all of it is so good. Like it's so good to know and helpful and good teachings and all that stuff. And so why was I taught to be afraid to look into this stuff? But anywho, so what I want to do, my theory that I'm proposing is that all religions are a piece of a map. Really what I believe is that every kind of religious teaching and even science and psychology are a map. And that if you lay them all on top of each other, that it becomes a layered map of a greater picture, a wholer picture. And that you need all these pieces, or there's utility in all these pieces, and that seeing the bigger picture and having the higher perspective and deeper understanding is the way to go. Because with anything, with any religion or philosophy or anything, what are you looking for? What question is it answering for you? It's answering the question of like how to conduct yourself appropriately in the world, right? Like how to successfully do life. And I think we need that. I think we crave that as humans. I think we were designed to do that, to crave that and to look for those answers. And yeah, so that brings me back to like, why was I taught not to look? Because the Bible talks about seek and you shall find. And we're urged in Proverbs over and over to get understanding. And it's because there's more. It's because there is more to this picture and this game and this life and this universe and this whole, like, whatever we're doing here than meets the eye. And I think that we are, if we're honest with ourselves, we are drawn to answer those questions and to get maps and to like have, something to strive for, or to understand, whatever. So what I have kind of learned, I'm going to read from my notes so I don't like mess you up. But so in the book that I was reading, The Tao of Physics, it kind of started to say like Hinduism answers the question of why are we here and like how it all works. Buddhism is a more like psychological perspective. It's the human situation. Well, what's the human situation? It's suffering. And it's the teachings of how to deal with that in a constructive way, in a better way. Chinese thought is more about like human relations and higher consciousness, and it kind of have two sects. Confucianism, which is more like practical common sense social organization stuff, and Taoism, which is more like the way of nature, the patterns, the flow, the cycles, all that stuff. So you can already kind of see like they're different religions, right? And some of their teachings overlap, as does it all. Like Christianity fits into that too. And even if you go back and look at mythology, so many of these stories overlap. For example, in Norse mythology, Odin hangs himself on the world tree for 9 days so that he dies or he descends or whatever the case, and he comes back with the runes, which are the wisdom that he gives to man. Well, in the Bible, Jesus hangs on a cross for 3 days. 3 days, he dies, descends into hell, and then when he comes back and resurrects and everything, but when he ascends into heaven, he can send the Holy Spirit who grants you wisdom. So similarities all across the board, not just in those two things. That was one example. But so you can kind of see how these are pieces to the puzzle. So I started to kind of think about, well, like what piece of the puzzle is Christianity? Like if I had to put like a quippy little title on it like that. And that's kind of hard for me because I'm just too in the details with it probably. But here we go. So Christianity talks about the nature of God, good versus evil, resurrection, eternal life. I think these are themes, right? I think that the Bible is really great if you're looking for like ascension codes, like tips on how to raise your consciousness and tap in and like be part of the more spiritual world that is right here among us that we just can't see. I think it has ascension codes. It definitely teaches you about like abundance in the way. So when I say abundance, I'm talking about there's this theory, philosophy, method, whatever, that I've heard about where you hack abundance. And what it is like you say money, for instance. Money is an energy. So what I have to do is not hoard my money or not believe that it is a scarce commodity, because that's a blocking energy. I have to believe that it is a flowing thing, and as I let it flow out of my hands, I have faith that it will flow into my hands, and I never stop the flow, right? So it's always, I may never have like a huge stack of money sitting on my bank account, but I'll always have what I need, and it's the kind of faith in that. So in the Bible, it talks about you need to tithe 10%. A lot of people have big feels about this, and what I grew up thinking was like, well, it's teaching you to not be greedy or feel like money is just like the most important thing, but it's so much bigger than that. I just did not understand. It's teaching you to let go. It's teaching you to sacrifice. It's teaching you to give. It's teaching you to trust. And that doesn't, it's not just with money, but like this is the example we're using. So if I'm always giving 10% or whatever percent, then, and there's a quote, a Bible verse about how God kind of like tests me in this, and I will show you, like, you can't outgive me. So there you go. I think the Bible is teaching you how to hack abundance. The Bible is also teaching you how to manifest. And I think we see this maybe most profoundly, or at least so far, in what I found in the story of like the fishes and the loaves, and they're out in the field and they have all these people, and the apostles come up to Jesus and they're like, send them away because we don't have any food to feed them. And Jesus is like, well, what do we have? And they're like, we have like a tiny bit of fish and like a little bit of bread. And he's like, yeah, no, it's gonna be fine. And he blesses it and everything. They start handing it out, and they feed every person until they're full, and they have stuff left over. He also says, seek and you shall find, ask and you shall receive, but that you must do this with faith. So when we're talking about manifesting, if I say like, what's a good thing? I'm going to meet someone that plays guitar and is really into music and lives pretty close to me and wants to collaborate. Like, this is the thing I'm manifesting. This is the thing that's going to happen. And I say it and I believe it, and then I let it go. Like, I don't have to keep thinking about it. And actually, I shouldn't probably keep like thinking and dwelling, because it's a clutching energy and it'll clog everything up. So it's just like, yeah, this is the thing. It's going to happen. I believe it. I go on about my life, and then it does happen. And you can't control the timing of that, and you can't control the specifics of that, and that's perfectly fine, because you got what you wanted. And that's what I think. So I think that if you start to take like a less literal and a more mystic view of the Bible, which the Bible is full of mysticism, by the way. Let me just tell you, one of the examples I have written down, and I'll get into examples of like Hinduism and Buddhism and kind of the principles there too. I was kind of taught, right, that astrology is evil. You know, it's like not a thing you should be paying attention to. And it just did not like it did for a long time. I had my blinders on and I was like, yes sir, we'll look at that. I'll be scared of that and like tiptoe around it and stuff because I'm interested in it, but I won't like fully invest because you told me not to, kind of thing. But finally, when I broke free of all that stuff, I was just like, man, I don't get it. Like now I've looked into it. Now I really get astrology. And I don't understand how in the world this could be bad. Like it could be bad in the way that all things, if you elevate them to a level that they aren't, can be bad, but that's not about the thing, that's about you and what you're doing. So I was just thinking about it, and I was like, hang on a sec. The wise men in the Bible followed a star to find the baby Jesus. And so I looked it up. The wise men are called magi, and the word magi is based on the Greek word magos, which was, let me read this so I don't mess it up. It was the title, magos is from the Persian word magupati, the title given to priests in aspects of the ancient Persian religions such as Zoroastrianism. Today we would call them astrologers. So the wise men, who were the first men to like find Jesus, it's like a main story in the Bible, were astrologers, y'all. And they brought to him gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which, if you look at it from a metaphysical perspective, have like healing qualities. Gold is symbolic of spirituality and development in the realm of complete understanding, allowing one to both attain and maintain communion with the source of all being. Frankincense, known to have held a special power to help one connect and commune with the divine. Myrrh, eternity of spirit, and an emblem of resurrection. So we've separated this out for whatever reason that they wanted us to, but it's not separate. It's not separate, and there's nothing separate about Hinduism and Christianity and Buddhism, Christianity, and quantum physics and Christianity. And then, like, I hate, for me personally, this all comes back to Christianity, but I don't even think that it matters where your hub is. It's the understanding that all these things are interconnected and that they are all like, it's like there's 6 of us and we're all on the different sides of a pole and we're all seeing the pole, and like I can only see it from my perspective unless we talk, and then I can see it and then I can like understand it from your perspective also. And I can't really understand this pole until I look at it from all the different perspectives. So that's why I think it's important. And I definitely don't think that it's something to be afraid of. Also, may I mention that in the Bible, it says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And why not? Because it's not something that you should fear. It's something that you shouldn't give your energy to. It's something that you shouldn't like dwell on. It's just like if you are walking past a strange dog and like you really get in your head about it and you get afraid and like it smells your fear, feeds off your fear, and now it's going to mess you up, as before it like wasn't going to even pay you attention, you know, or wasn't going to make a move or whatever. So I think that that's the kind of thing you need to keep in mind when you are worried. Like, you have to trust your own mind. You have to trust your own discernment. And that's so important, whether we're talking about faith or we're talking about practical, everyday 3D life or whatever. And if you don't have that, that's okay, because like I didn't used to have that, but you can develop it, you will develop it, all that stuff. So some really cool things that I wanted to tell you about from the Eastern mysticism part. And for me, it focuses on Hindu. Like, I really dig Hinduism. It just speaks to me. But so there are many, many gods in the Hindu faith. But it is said that they are all just embodiments and like certain aspects of the same God. So it's all the same God, but he's like playing out in different kind of forms, in different aspects of personality kind of. But so we have kind of 4 concepts that are really key and I think can be really key in your life. So we have Brahman, which is the ultimate reality. This is in Buddhism, it's like, I think they use a word that I can't pronounce, but nirvana would be that moment where you see it, where you see that everything is connected, where you see that you are not an individual. Buddhists believe that that's like it's part of the illusion that you are an individual and that you are separate from the person sitting next to you and that you are separate from the ground you are sitting on and all that stuff, because you're not. We're all the same. We're made up of the same things. It's all interconnected. And I think that's fantastic. So Leela is the rhythmic dynamic play, the play of God. And I think that you can take that in a couple different ways, but to say that this is a play, like a play that's happening on the stage, like all of life is a play of God. So some people think that, let's say you're God. Let's say you are omniscient, all-powerful being. Well, like, wouldn't that get boring, you know? So if maybe you split yourself, maybe you fragment, and so my person would then be a fragment of God, and you come to earth, or you get in the game, the simulation, the play, whatever, and you play out these things, and you learn lessons, and you interact with yourself. In quantum physics, they say that you are just a piece of the universe experiencing itself, or like observing itself. And I think it's similar to this concept of God like experiencing himself because he's fragmented. So anyways, that's some cool stuff to think about. Karma is the force within the play. So it's the action. So karma, as you probably know, is just for your actions and motivations and intentions or whatever. You set consequences in motion that will cycle back to you in time. So that is the movement of our play. And then Maya is my favorite. It's my favorite one, y'all. Okay, so you may have heard, so when people talk about, the Matrix whole thing and like everything, this is all simulation, this is all not real. So what the Hinduism says is like Maya is the illusion, but it's not that the world is not real. It's not that the world is an illusion. The illusion lies in our point of view. We think the shapes and structures, things and events are reality, but they are concepts of our categorizing mind. Maya is the illusion. It's like confusing the map with the territory. So, man, this stuff is so exciting to me. So Buddhism has some of these same principles like Maya, Karma, Nirvana. Obviously, that's where you reach this higher understanding that you are all things and connected with all things. So those are just some super cool points. So I said that it's all the religions, right? That all the religions have a little piece of our puzzle, let's say. Psychology then would be a piece of our puzzle. Science would inevitably be a piece of our puzzle, because what is science? Science is the study of like the way that the world works, the way that things work. And the newest science is quantum physics, right? It's quantum everything. And what they're saying is that we already know that you really can't even talk about the universe. You really can't even talk about anything like existence or experience or whatever without talking about the observer or considering the observer, because our consciousness impacts the reality. That when you do certain experiments, just the mere fact that you are looking at it and measuring it changes the outcome. And it's because, from what I understand so far, is that nothing actually exists with any certainty. But everything has the probability to exist, and everything has the probability to play out in a certain way. An atom has a probability to land in a certain point on a wave, or whatever. So, like, isn't that fascinating? So we walk around and we think, because I can knock on this wall, like everything in life is concrete, and it isn't. And so what they're saying is that the scientific study of consciousness and consciousness impact on reality is the next frontier, the final frontier. of science. Do I think that it's the final frontier? Like, probably not. But that's where we're getting to. So it's like all this stuff that's always been like poo-pooed and mysticism, and it's all crazy and it's all just like a bunch of woo, and you have your head in the clouds and all this stuff, and then like science creeps along and learning stuff and discovering things, and they're like, shit, they actually were right like thousands of years ago. They knew what the fuck they were talking about. And I think that's fantastic. I think there's a lesson in that about arrogance and stop being so certain. I love the idea of having the convictions of your faith, but I think that attachment to any certain truth hinders your ability to find greater truth. So just because you believe in something, allow like this part of your mind back here to understand that there may be a greater truth to be exposed, and if there is, don't you want that, and shouldn't you be open to that? So I think that's a cool thing. And one last thing that I'll leave you with. So y'all have heard me talk probably about Jordan Peterson, who I love, but he is a psychologist, and he does a lot of talks on like YouTube, and he has books and yada yada. But I was listening to his podcast actually, and one of the books, it's not in the Bible, but it's man, I wish I could remember who wrote it. But it's one of the books of the Bible that's not in the Bible, and it proposes this idea that heaven and hell are laid out horizontally across the earth, but man cannot see it. And whether, and he said that kind of in Christian teaching, it is this heaven or hell is the end result. It's something that happens after you die, and it's the consequences of your choices and the way you lived your life and all that stuff. So you end up in heaven or you end up in hell at the end of your life, and it's an irreversible thing. And he proposes the idea that if this is true, that it's laid out horizontally across the earth, that it is something you experience in this life. And yes, it is in fact based on your choices and the way that you conduct yourself. And you can live this life in a state of heaven and harmony and happiness and joy and enlightenment and all that stuff, or you can live, and we've all probably lived in a state where it just, yeah, hell is an accurate description. And anyways, so I think that whether or not you believe that heaven and hell are like a thing that exists and that you will go to after you die, it changes in no way the truth that heaven and hell are something that you experience in this life, at least to a certain extent, and a result of your choices and mindset and the way that you choose to live and like aim your perspective and stuff like that. So I think that's a cool thing to consider. This is a really exciting topic, and I don't know when to stop, but I'm probably going to stop now. If you have a weird dream, a repetitive dream, and you want to hit me up about that, on this page, Soul Speak, I think it's like facebook.com/dreammagic19, I think. It's probably not right. But y'all can message me on my page, and I have it set up now where I won't miss any messages. I missed one. I felt really bad about that. It doesn't have to be about that. If you're seeing a repetitive numbers, or numbers, and you're like, I just really don't get this, I don't really get what this means, let's talk about that. If you have a topic that you want to hear more about, let's talk about that. If you have something on today's topic that you want to enlighten me on, let's talk about that, because I for sure don't know everything. But this has been really fun. I hope you enjoyed it. There will definitely be more, and I hope you guys have a great day.